y'all, I'm so sorry I'm not going to be on video tonight because I am looking quite COVID-19 rough. This whole working from home thing. Anywho, next video, I'll get all fancy and do another TikTok for you guys. Let's go ahead and get started though. Today we are doing the FSA Packet 1, problems 23 through 33. Okay, it says the circumference of the circle below is 36 and 11/100 meters. What is the area of the circle? Well, a couple of things that we should refresh our memories with is that the circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius. And the area of a circle, area equals pi times the radius squared. So first what we need to do is put this into this formula so that we can solve for our radius, and then once we have the radius we can put it into the area formula. So we know here that the circumference is 36 and 11/100 meters, and that is equal to 2 times pi times the radius. So what we can do is divide both sides by 2 times pi, and we can use our calculator for this packet. Sorry, I left my calculator in the other room. Okay, so what we can do is multiply 2 times 3.14, and that'll give us 6 and 28/100. So really 36 and 11/100 is equal to 6 and 28/100 times the radius. So to solve for the radius, we're just going to divide both sides by 6 and 28/100. This cancels, and we are left with the radius is equal to 36 and 11/100 divided by 6 and 28/100. And that gives us 5 and 75/100. Now, we are not done. We have just found the radius. And remember, the radius is the distance between the middle of the circle to the outside of the circle. That's our radius. In this case, it's 5 and 75/100 meters. So now we plug in our radius into our area formula. So we are going to do, I always do not leave myself enough room. Okay, I'm going to do that down here. Pi r squared. Okay, so it's going to be area is equal to 3.14 times 5.75 squared. And you can just enter all this into your calculator. So I'm going to enter into my calculator 3.14 times 5.75 times 5.75. And you will get a really long number here, 103. Okay, and then we're going to round this number. It doesn't actually say to round, but I would round to the nearest tenths or 100ths at least. So let's go with, we'll do 100ths, 82/100ths. Meters squared. Remember, we are talking about area, so our answer should be in meters and it should be squared. Okay, so it says create an equivalent expression without parentheses. So what we can do is we can use the distributive property to distribute the 5 to the 1/5 x and the 5 to the 2. 5 times 1/5 x, it would just be 5 over 1 times 1 over 5. 5 times 1 is 5. 1 times 5 is 5. So 5 divided by 5 actually gives us 1. So 5 times 1/5 x gives us 1x. I'll do that down here as well. Sorry, that's going to be without. When you need the eraser, it doesn't come. But when you don't need the eraser, it shows up. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so 5 times 1/5 x equals 1x, and then 5 times 2 gives us 10, and then over here we still have 2/5 x minus 2. We would still have the parentheses on this side. What you could do is distribute this negative sign or the minus sign to both the 2/5 x and to the negative 2. So it would look like 1x plus 10 minus 2/5 x plus 2. And then, of course, you could combine like terms here. So 1x minus 2/5 x gives us 3/5 x. And, sorry, that's when we combined 1x and the minus 2x. We're combining like terms here, okay? And then the 10 plus 2 gives us positive 12. So you could use this as your answer without parentheses, or you could use this as your answer without parentheses. Both of those are correct answers. Okay, what is the measure? What is the measure of angle A in degrees? Okay, so we have 2A, 3A, and A. Let's add all these together, and this does all equal one straight line here. All three of these angles add up to be one straight line. So 2A plus 3A plus A equals 6A. And therefore, 6A is equal to 180 degrees because, as I said, all three of those angles add up to be one straight line. So to solve for angle A, we are going to divide both sides by 6 because to solve a multiplication equation, you have to do the opposite and divide. And 6 divided by 6 gives us 1, and 1 times A is A. And then 180 divided by 6 gives us 30. So A is 30 degrees. Okay. Tyra is making cookies for her friends. The recipe calls for 1/3 cup of sugar. Okay, for every 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Sorry, baking powder looks terrible. Okay, how much baking powder should she use for every 1 cup of sugar? Well, to turn 1/3 cup of sugar into 1 cup of, well, hello. To turn 1/3 cup of sugar into 1 cup of sugar, you would multiply that by 3. So this times 3 gives me 1 whole cup. I know I'm doing this kind of backwards, but I ran out of room like I always seem to do. I need to start on the left side, you know, like you would with a sheet of paper. I know. I'm losing it over here, okay? All right, so we multiply times 3 to get 1 cup, so therefore we would multiply the 2 teaspoons times 3, and that would give us 6 teaspoons. And that's our answer. 6 teaspoons of baking powder. I swear I know how to spell. Okay, this is terrible. All right, moving on. Bailey biked 23 miles in 2 hours. What is her unit rate of miles to hour? Remember, unit rate gives us a denominator of 1. Okay, so right now we've got 23 miles. I didn't start on the left like I told myself I would. For 2 hours, and that we want to change to make it how many miles in just 1 hour. That is a unit rate where we have a denominator of 1. So to do that, all we're doing is dividing the top by bottom. So we can do this with a calculator because we are allowed to use a calculator on this section of the FSA packet. So 23 divided by 2 into your calculator, you should get 11.5 or 11.5 miles. So our answer would be 11.5 miles per hour. Okay. All right, moving on. Remember to pause this video at any time that you need to slow things down or write things down. Okay, this one was a bit complicated, so I'm going to try and take it slow. Stay with me. Pace Carpet Company is putting carpet in the bedrooms of a new home. The dimensions of the room are 15 1/2 feet by 18 feet. The length and width of the room may vary by 0.1% according to the floor plans. What is the smallest area of the room? Area a room could measure rounded to the nearest thousandth of a square foot. Okay, so 0.1% is actually equal to 0.001. So what we are going to do is take 15.5 and multiply it by 0.001. And we can do this part in our calculator. 15.5 times 0.001. And that gives us, probably could have done that without a calculator. Okay, and then we've got 18. We want to do the same thing. Multiply it times 0.001 or 1,000th. 1,000th. Okay, so then we put that in our calculator, and we've got 18 thousandths. Okay, and then it's saying the smallest area. So what we're going to do is we're going to take what we just got and we're going to subtract it from the measurements that we have currently. So minus 155 10,000ths. And we are going to subtract, nope, that's right, 18 thousandths. Okay, and then we can do those in our calculator. Okay, and here we get and 18 minus 18 thousandths. And remember, we are finding the area here. So now that we have our two side length measures, we are going to multiply them together. Okay, and we get this long number. Okay, and it said round to the nearest thousandth. Well, here is the nearest thousandth, and we want to look behind it. That 2 is not enough to bump it up, so our answer is going to be 278. 442 thousandths feet squared, because we are talking about area here. Okay, that one was a long one for sure. Okay, it says the graph below represents the rate for the cost of video games on sale at Games Incorporated. Write an equation to represent the cost C. Well, we notice that this goes through the origin here, so we are not adding or subtracting anything onto our at the end of our equation. Okay, so our cost is going to be equal to, we are paying $20 for one video game. So each video game is another $20. $40 for 2 video games. $60 for 3 video games. So each video game is $20. So $20 times the number of games will give you the cost for the amount that you will spend. So C equals 20G. Okay, Jackson left a 20% tip for a meal he ate at a restaurant. If there was no sales tax on the meal, which of the following meals Jackson could have paid for that would be less than or equal to $18? Okay, so what we need to do here is we need to multiply the amount times 1.2, and remember 1.2 represents 100% of the meal plus the 20% tip. So 100 plus 20 gives us 120%, and that is equal to 1.2 as a decimal. So we can multiply that together, 16 times 1.2, and that gives me 19.2, which is $19.20. That is too much. It said we want it to be less than or equal to 18. So I'm just going to do that all the way down until I find one that gives me less than or equal to 18. So 15.5 times 1.2, gives me $18.60. So again, still not. 15 times 1.2 gives me $18. So this one will work. So C is correct, but we need to keep going because it said select all that apply. Okay, so $16.25 times 1.2. That is $19.50, so that will not work. $14.75 is less than 15, so this is going to work, but we can double check it into our calculator. Times 1.2. This gives us $17.70, so that will work. And $14 is even less than that, so again, that's going to work, but let's just double check it. 14 times 1.2 gives us 16.8, which is $16.80. Oops, so that one will work as well. All right, so you should have chosen C, E, and F for this problem. Okay, number 31. Caleb is filling his fish tank with water to a depth of 12 inches. The water has a volume, remember volume is equal to length times width times height, or base times width times height, either way. It has a volume of 2,400 cubic inches. On the coordinate plane below, draw a rectangle that could represent the possible dimensions of the fish tank. Well, we know one of these dimensions is the 12 because it told us that right here. What we're looking for is the other two. So what two numbers can we multiply times 12 to give us 2,400? Well, I'd like to start, we've got this, that it ends in a 0, right? So if it ends in 0, I know a 10 can go into it. So let's put a 10 here. And if we multiply 12 times 10, if we multiply 12 times 10, that gives us 120. Okay, and then we need to figure out what we need to multiply times 120 to get 2,400. So we take 2,400, divide it by 120, and that other number will be a 20. So the other two dimensions that we could have, and there are a range of numbers here, okay? You could have picked any other two numbers that multiplied together times 12 to give you 2,400. You do have to make sure that you can put the rectangle over here in your graph, though. So it couldn't be something crazy like 240, because you don't have 240 squares across for you to choose from. Okay, so but we do have our rectangle that it wants us to do is 10 by 20, because we already know that the height of this is 12 inches. So essentially what we're doing is we are finding the rectangle that is down here at the bottom. 20 by 10. So let's count these squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Look, 20 all the way across. Awesome. And then I'm going to go up 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'm going to come across and down. Those are about the straightest lines I've ever made. Okay, so that is a 10 by 20, so that one would work. And the dimensions for the whole fish tank would be 12 inches by 10 inches by 20 inches. And the rectangle we drew over here is 10 inches by 20 inches. Okay. Jasmine is saving money for a trip this summer. She earns money by babysitting on the weekends, $10 per hour. This is pretty decent pay for babysitting. You guys should get on that. All right, she needs to earn at least $175 each month to have enough money to pay for the trip. Write an inequality to represent the situation in which H represents the number of hours that Jasmine needs to babysit each month to save at least $175. Remember, inequalities are simply greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. So if we want to save at least 175, that means we can make more than 175, or we can make equal to 175. So a greater than or equal to sign would work here. We make $10 each hour that we babysit, so it'll be 10 times the number of hours that we babysit. That would have to be greater than or equal to 175. So this is our inequality. Now we are going to solve that inequality to find the minimum number of whole hours Jasmine would have to babysit each month to save at least 175. So 10H is greater than or equal to 175. To solve here, we're going to divide both sides by 10. This cancels because 10 divided by 10 is 1, and 1 times H is H. Bring down my inequality sign, and 175 divided by 10 gives me 17.5, but it said whole hours, okay? Because we want at least 175, if not more than that, then we need to go at least 17.5, if not more than that. So I would round up here to $18. Sorry, we're talking about hours, aren't we? Not dollars. 18 hours, because we do not want to round down to 17 hours, because 17 times 10 only gives us 170, and we need at least 175. So 18 hours would be your minimum whole hours. Okay, last one. What is the sum of the two expressions below? What you can do here, I'm going to rewrite these down here. What you can do here is use the associative property and the commutative property to switch these numbers around to where you can combine like terms. Okay, what I mean by that is putting things that go together. So 1/3 x plus 1/3 x, I'm going to put those over here. And then I'm going to put the 2 minus the 1 over here. Okay, so 1/3 x plus 1/3 x gives me 2/3 x. I guess I'll write it right below here. I know I'm squeezing things in. And then 2 minus 1 gives us 1. So 2/3 x plus 1 is our answer. 2/3 x plus 1. Okay, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you another day. I hope you guys are staying safe and staying healthy. Bye.